Let's go!
Now, I'm on a roof for a reason. Welcome back to more SteamPunk. And today, I have some plans for putting some things on these roofs of the castle, the ultimate castle that we have right here. And the goal is to hopefully make it a little bit more steampunk in the build. But before we do that, I do have a few questions. Yes, I am asking you guys questions. And of course, you can comment down below what you think about this. But what I was wanting to ask is, do you guys want to see me cover the Blue Skies mod and the Aether, and also Ad Astra, as I have recently covered those in other playthroughs? I've recently just done them, and I have done them in the last several packs that I've done. Blue Skies, I've definitely gone through all of the bosses, all of that progression in multiple mod packs. But I would love to hear from you guys. I definitely plan on exploring the other lands. That is something that I definitely want to do. This is a new mod to me, and it looks like all of these mods basically starts you off at vanilla. It's almost like you go from vanilla to more vanilla Minecraft, if that makes any sense, because these all have their own innate progression. Blue Skies has its own progression you're supposed to go through in that world. The Aether has its own progression you're supposed to go through in that world. Not so much with Ad Astra, as it has its own integrated progression as you tier up. But yeah, everything here, I mean, for the most part, I've definitely done. So I'd love to hear from you. I'm definitely doing, though, the older lands. Older lands. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced. But this one looks pretty darn sick. And I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. I really love hearing what you guys have to say. Is it something you want to see? Or do you want to see more of the create related stuff? I don't know. Like, I really want to do more create things and potentially get trains and all kinds of stuff. And today we're doing lava. So yes, we're going to be producing a bit of lava. All right, now with that out of the way, let's talk about lava. So on these roofs, I do want to get that set up. And an easy way that we can actually generate lava is by going into the nether, and we can take a train into the nether and we can pull lava out that way out of an infinite source. Or we can use cauldrons. Cauldrons are a very easy way to do that. Now, I really like the train method, but that is going to require sturdy sheets and, well, unfortunately, it's going to require lava to get started. Kind of. As you do need kind of lava to get those sturdy sheets initially. So I think definitely having a way of producing it with cauldrons first is going to be a good method. And then later on, instead of me building out a giant hole in the ground and filling that with infinite lava, I kind of want to challenge myself to only use a train to do that. So that'll definitely force me to get into the trains, because outside of that, in this pack, I'm having a really hard time figuring out, why would I need a train for anything? I mean, yeah, because you're basically given flight right off the bat. Now, back to how we're actually going to set these up. So I do want to store this lava, and I want it to be incorporated into the base. So I have an idea. I don't want to use create tanks to hold everything. I think the create tanks are almost kind of crazy whimsical. They have a very, very bright orange color. And it does fit well with the pipes, but it also displays the lava in a way that to me doesn't really fit our theme. But there is something that definitely fits our theme, and that is immersive engineering. And did you know it also has a really large capacity tank that should be able to store lava? Now, this structure is called a fluid tank from immersive engineering, and it does have a pretty interesting multi-block. You are going to need to place down some treated fence just like this. And then I have been processing up, if I go all the way down here, just completely ignoring the fact that I have an elevator. If I go all the way down here, I've been processing up some iron sheets, and we have tons of iron. So the iron farm that we set up has been producing a significant amount of iron, like so much so that I had to go ahead and put a smart chute down here to filter out into a limited barrel the excess flint, because there's just so much flint. And then this excess flint that is in here, I have a void upgrade in there that's just voiding the rest of it off. So that's been a fantastic way to do this. But I have all of these iron sheets and also copper sheets. These are going to be helpful today. But the iron sheets, I can use this to make iron sheet metal. And I'm going to need several of them to make the fluid tank. And it tells you right here we need 34, and even gives this nice little display, which is brand new to JEI. I've never seen Immersive Engineering showing how to make its multi-blocks kind of there without showing you inside of the book. But if you really need, Immersive Engineering does show you how to make all of these in detail in here. So if you search fluid, you'll find fluid tanks, I believe tank right here, just a regular tank. And then you can see in detail and rotate the multi-block. And so you can see exactly how to build this, but it is very easy. However, keep in mind where this red block is at, because that's very important. That's actually where you're going to use your hammer to form the multi-block. So the hammer is very important and it will be needed. So now, does it have a face? Well, technically all of the sides are basically the same. You're just going to have a block that is going to be right here in the center. And then on the outside, we are just going to build this up. And like, according to the book, if I rotate it the other way, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks tall, and with the fifth block being down here. So this is the first level. So 1, 2, 3, and the last one being 4. And this one gets completely covered up just like that. And we now have ourselves a tank. Now, you don't have to have these on stilts like this. I just like to have it setting up a little bit higher because it reminds me of a water tower, which is important to know too, because as soon as we complete this, it is going to function very much like a water tower. And if I grab a trap door, even though I think there's a crawl hotkey, if I place this down, you can see there's a port on the bottom too. That's why I kind of like to lift it up off the ground if I can. But where we actually fill this thing is on the top, because the bottom is where we receive our fluids. So much like how an actual water tank works, kind of, we fill from the top. So the top is going to be where that goes. So that hole that you see right there that I just missed. So see how I was like, this really kind of fits in a little bit more than I think using a big old create fluid tank. Oh, and by the way, this does hold like 512 buckets, so something to keep in mind. Now, because of that location directly on the top, I actually want to have these cauldrons sort of down underground. I do want them out of sight and out of mind, but I want the lava to be channeled all the way up here, and that way we'll have it running along the side of the building, which I think will add to that sort of steampunk feel. Now, down here, I'm clearing out an area because I want this to be the length of the building on all sides. And we are going to need a bunch of cauldrons. I think 15 cauldrons running this way and 15 that way. And that's a lot of iron. That's a whole lot of iron. So let's just take a look at how many we can actually make as of right now. So about 24 cauldrons. It's quite a bit. And each of these cauldrons have to have the lava pumped out of them utilizing create. So we are going to use create to pump the lava out. I think that's going to be one of the best ways to actually get the lava out of the cauldron. Now up here, I'm going to be housing the lava. So the lava is going to reside up here. So I placed in some trapdoors, and then we're going to have a block. I think I'm going to end up using some brick. So some stone brick for this. It doesn't have to look insanely pretty because this is just going to be an area that I peek down into, mostly functional. And then right below this, I'm going to have dripstone. And speaking of dripstone, we've got to go on the hunt for dripstone. And I think the best way to search for dripstone is going to be heading down into Y level 0, and then we need to search for dripstone caves. And now we should have a dripstone cave not too far away. So it looks like there's one about 200 blocks. And so we can just follow our trail and we should be able to harvest up some dripstone. Ah, remember this area? Well, there's actually some dripstone just right up here, it appears. And that was quick. This is a ton of dripstone. Okay, I'm gonna have a blast. I'm just harvesting as much of it as I can because it's gonna be super useful now and potentially later. Also need to grab myself a few buckets of lava. Man, these fluid barrels really come in handy for stuff like this. Like that makes it so much easier for me to get the fluid out, because I was really wondering if there was a way to move fluids around portably. And yeah, there is. These things work great. So now the lava's up here. We have a block and then the dripstone down below. And this is going to fill up with lava. Now, the more of these you have, the faster it's going to feel like the lava is forming. But we should be able to now pump all of the lava out of here and pump it up. But it is going to take, I think, a couple of actual pumps from create. So if we take a look, we should be able to, well, we're going to need a pump every 16 blocks. So that's kind of how the pumps work. And we should be able to leverage some of the rotational speed that we have on the wall here, and also the rotational speed that we have in the bottom. And the faster it spins, the faster it pumps. Doesn't change the distance that it's pumping, but it will change how fast out it is pumping. And so here in a few ticks, hopefully, we should maybe have our first lava. So if you want to know the interesting math around this, it says on average, random ticks occur every 68 seconds. And then with a 6% chance for the cauldron to be refilled, it takes about 19 minutes per cauldron to fill with lava on average. Hey, look at there. Right as I was talking, that one filled with lava. Now, something interesting to note, I have fluid pipes lining here. It's about 12 blocks. Then we have 13 and 14. So this pump can actually pump 16 blocks behind its location. But it can also pump 16 blocks in front of its location, meaning that you should end up with like 32 blocks distance between pumps that this should be able to work. And these mechanical pumps do need rotational force, and like I'd said before, the faster it spins, the faster it pumps, but it doesn't increase its range that it can travel. And I'm going to be a little bit strategic about where I am actually going to be placing these pipes. So if I teleport up here, I need to change this. So right about up here is the perfect distance between that, about 32 blocks. But I actually want another pump right about here. And I want this to curve into the wall and follow the wall up. So to be able to do that, we can go ahead and do this. And also, do not start your pump, because this will actually, create is interesting because create will pump the lava into the world. So it'll actually place a source block. So these pipes kind of have multiple functions, one being that it can actually place the source fluid in the world. But yes, what I'm going to end up doing is tapping in here, and I did go ahead, which I didn't really mention this, but inside of my building, I went ahead and set up my precision mechanism stuff back again. I should be able to jump up here. There we go. So yeah, I got my precision mechanisms back up, and I also prepared our sheets that we're gonna need, our sturdy sheets to be able to make trains. I also set that back up, and we had gone over that early on in the series, so should be pretty good at this point. But right here, yeah, should be a pump. Now I'm going to leave this off for now. I don't want the pump pumping lava at the moment. But yes, I need to continue up. And I got to keep in mind, like I said, I need to go 16 blocks, and then I have to make sure that there's a location I can put a pump. And I'm probably just going to put the pump at the very top somewhere. And I'm going to drag the stress from here all the way up there. So perfect. I think we're just about ready to go ahead and turn this all on. So this should be able to pump right into the top here. And I think that looks kind of cool. I may want to add some bracings, but for right now, this should be able to be filled with lava as soon as I get power to this cog and of course the cog that is down below. So I think it's about time we plug this in and then we get ourselves a cog. Okay, this should now start pumping lava out of the cauldrons, and we should be able to see right here that we have lava flowing. Okay, that's perfect. Now, this is still not flowing all the way up because we do not have the other cog that we need right here. But I can teleport over here. And we should just start seeing lava particles. And then that will ultimately lead to having lava start to display on the fluid tank. I got creepers spawning up here. That is horrifying. Oh, thank God for the protection. And now to see the actual value, if we look at the bottom of the fluid tank right here, we can see there's now 15 buckets of lava stored inside. And now this may seem a little bit obscure, but there are actually fluid pipes from Immersive Engineering. And remember me telling you that this is kind of like a water tower? Well, all you have to do to get the fluid out now is you just use a pipe and you give this a redstone signal. So we should be able to pipe out of here. And then we could pipe this and give this a redstone signal, and it should be able to send the lava into, for example, this pipe down here. And so we can just have this trail the wall, and this is even more steampunk looking pipes. And this should pipe directly into this spout. And we need lava in that spout. So let's go ahead and see if this works. So if I give this a lever signal, this should, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, this should hopefully send lava, and it does. So yes, it works just like you would expect a water tower to work. It's going to be using that vertical it's going to be using that vertical pressure of the water pushing down or pushing against the walls, and then all leading down into this area, giving it some nice force to go through these pipes. Otherwise, you would actually have to use an immersive engineering pump, which is it's kind of a cool thing in its own and could allow you to pump lava, for example, out of the nether. But that does require power, and we don't actually have any power set up yet, believe it or not. Now, something to note about this hole that we have right here, I can actually encase this fluid pipe, so it does close out a lot of these holes that you see right here. And I could use it, for example, right here, but I think having just the pipe scaling up the wall actually looks really good. So now with this lava, I can actually start making sturdy sheets. This is perfect. So this does require obsidian powder, which I just sent a full stack of obsidian through here. There's a 75% chance of getting the obsidian back. So I looped it around, and this is what an entire stack of obsidian got me. Basically 3 stacks of obsidian, which you would probably expect. That kind of makes sense. It's a little over 75% in returns on that as a bonus, but that's kind of what you would expect out of it. So all I have to do is now put this in here, and this is going to just start automating sturdy sheets, utilizing that lava. It does take 500 millibuckets, so a half a bucket every sheet, but this will get us a nice amount. And I know probably at this point you're like, well, big whoop, Chosen, you've already done all of this, but I've not done it in this capacity. So now we have the ability to make it indefinitely. Anytime I need some, I can easily just pop this in and bam, I'm good to go. And our lava, as soon as we start getting more of it, will continue to process these and continue to produce them. And look at that. Just in a blink of an eye, I have a stack. And this has a lot of uses. So this is a lot of uses. You have the enchanting guide from the Create Industries, all of the cooking automation that involves Create with the central kitchen utilizes these. There's also some building blocks, which are pretty nice. The immersive aircraft has some uses, but the main use is to be able to turn it into train casings. And train casings are, well, used for trains, a lot of stuff. So you do end up actually making, believe it or not, when we get into trains, a lot of train controls, a lot of the train stations, and a lot of the train signals, specifically a lot, and I mean a lot of train signals. So this is going to be something that I get to add to my casings. And I don't know if I already have the casings set up for this. I'm stuck in a hole. Hopefully I can just teleport. But I think the setting over here, yes, I should have I should have the ability just to put the items in, and then this will just make casings for me. So speaking of casings, we can take like 16 of these brass casings, and I load the sturdy sheets in here, and then the brass casings here, and bam, we now have automated train casings. Well, semi-automated, and these are really good looking blocks, especially when you start building trains. Now, as far as the trains actually go, I believe I can modify this setup, and all I have to do is add a press, and this will become our train track automation. And I don't have to change anything for this. All we have to do is take tracks, right? So find ourselves some train tracks. And then we just give it iron nuggets and some slabs. So stone slabs will work, any kind of stone material slab. And we put this in here just like that. And that's going to roam through. I haven't put the ingredients in yet, but we're going to need a bunch of iron. And this is why having that iron farm going is so important early on. Like even before I get myself a steam generator or anything like that going, this sort of needs to be priority. Like I've got to get iron automated. It's so important in packs like these, just in using the Create mod in general. So there we go. It can evenly divide this up. It's not super important how well evenly divided it is, but so long as it's done like this, we now have ourselves some train tracks. Or at least I think it's producing train tracks. That should be a deny filter in here. Maybe that'll be a good time for me to make sure. This is a deny list. Oh, so it's going to keep looping. Let's also deny train tracks. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. So I'll also add this to the deny list so that way it passes right through in case we ever go to make these again. So there we go. So now we'll have train tracks just making their way through the belts, and perfect. These are great. And we can sit there and just place these down. Oh, they have a beautiful like GUI. I love the trains. Trains are so good. Ever since I learned how to use them after playing like Create Arcane Engineering, trains can be very powerful, but are very tedious to set up. Don't let a lot of the other Create YouTubers fool you. They make it look insanely easy. Believe me, editing makes everything look easy. But trains take a huge amount of time and effort and thinking to actually set up efficient networks. Now, just as I was about to start working on something else, look who showed up. And this guy has a mastery scroll pouch. And I have no idea what this is, but it sounds like it could be like high tier scrolls. And I really hope it is. What do we get? Epic level fortify scroll. We got a summon Vex rare scroll and a chain creeper scroll that is epic level 5. Dude, that's actually kind of nice. That chain creeper, I believe, is kind of interesting. The fortify is like, that's like the, is that the top tier? Fortify? This is a level 8. I don't know if it goes any higher than that. We'd be able to see here. Does it go? It goes up to 10, I think. So yes, a 10 puts it at legendary, 15 temporary hearts. But that is better than the fortify that we currently have. Which I do have a fortify in here. So you can see this is level 4 and it does 9 temporary hearts. And this one is going to do a bit more than that. So we ended up getting 13 temporary hearts now on that fortify, which is significantly more. And it also, by the way, fortifies all of our pets and summons and stuff as well. So yes, this is an even more powerful spell. All right, and I've got to try out what that chain creeper looks like. And so we do have this guy after us. So okay, that's interesting. Completely wrecked him. Okay, that's a little powerful. I mean, it's nothing compared. Oh no, it didn't wreck him. He's still alive. What? See, that's why some of these spells, they seem a little odd. Oh, it does AoE. I see now. Okay, that's interesting. Still, though, nothing compares to the gun. It's just so overpowered. So back to my next sort of plan. I think the base is missing a lot. So I've got an idea. Now, on the outside, it looks fine. We have our spinning water wheels, which add a lot of immersion into this whole world. But we are missing something in the center. And I was thinking, how about some windmills? Not only will we be generating power by doing this, but we'll also give something that spins and has some nice, like, steampunky vibes that I think will look fantastic on all 4 sides of the tower. And this is also going to involve some more create. So I'm going to be utilizing a rolling mill, and this thing is pretty cool. We just need some rotation, and then we give it some items, some very specific items, because this can make a lot of different things. It can make, for example, rods. It can make, let's see, let's take some like copper sheets. It can end up making these things right here, copper wire. And so the copper wire will end up making its way down here. So we place the items in, and then the output will end up getting output over here. And we can use these copper wires to make all kinds of stuff. So there's tons of things that these wires are used for. But the main thing is to make coils, and then we can make coil blocks, and then we can make kinetic dynamos. And kinetic dynamos are what we're going to use to actually generate power. That way we can get power from these windmills. And so I want to place some windmills along the edges, and I kind of want to vary I guess you would call them like fluff, whatever the actual sails are made out of, which are tough fabric in this case. But I kind of want to have each one of them sort of varied in how many sails are actually filled. Now, when placing these down, you want this face right here, the output, to be where you're actually placing your rotation. The thing that is going to be generating, whether that is going to be a water wheel, which they also have in this mod, or the wind cells. So I'm going to go ahead and get them all placed out like this, and this is going to be the start. Now, there's going to be more built to this. It's going to be a lot taller than it currently is. So I'm also planning on having something at the top as well. But for right now, if I go ahead and start making windmill blades, by the way, which require a bunch of treated wood, and treated wood, we have tons of creosote oil. that I have just generated from making coal coke, which we don't really have a use for the coal coke because we can make steel in many other ways. But definitely the creosote. I knew that that was going to be important, and here it is, definitely showing how important it is. Now the windmills on their own are kind of interesting. I don't know if I can reach up here, but there we go. So yes, they're kind of interesting. They're bare bones. They don't have anything on them, but man, that is going to look pretty good at a distance, seeing that spin. Oh, and I love the way that these things look. Now it's going to look even better once we start actually adding in the sails. So these should spin. I know this is spinning, but this one is not. Okay, there it goes. Now it's starting to spin. They all should spin, and they all should generate power. Now the amount of power that you generate is dependent upon how many actual wind cells that you have. And the thing that we use to actually cover those wind cells are going to be a lot of this tough fabric. Now this tough fabric gets combined, I believe, in this sort of pattern like this, and this ends up making the wind cells that we need. And we're gonna need more than one of them per actual wind cell. And I believe you click on here and notice how it just added a wind cell in. So once you have 8 of those, you fill out the entirety of this thing. And yeah, you can have them here and there. It does sort of look like if you really want. But the idea is to actually fill them all up. So yes, just like that, you see I have 4 of them on there. And then on the other one, I could maybe do like 5. And it does like evenly distribute them. So if I add 5, there's that one that has it. If I add another one on here, you can see that is sort of evenly distributed with 2 of them left off. I can have one that just has like maybe 2 of them on there, and so on and so forth. Maybe one that's like kind of all weirded out. But yes, they all are going to spin at different speeds, which I kind of like. Let's have one that's completely filled so we can see how fast it's actually spinning. And this one is going to produce the most power. Now, something very simple that we can do with our power is we can store it. So we can put it inside of an LV accumulator, and this is actually going to hold power. And just by placing it directly underneath here, we can see now in the top left that we are starting to generate FE power. So forge energy power, which is what we're generating right here. And then we can actually use a hammer. So let me grab our hammer here, and we should be able to click this and we can change the side. You can see right here, blue typically stands for input and orange stands for output. So we can see the opposite side is changing, and we can hold down shift, I believe, to change the opposite side of the block. So we can make this opposite side be an energy input, which is blue, by holding down shift. And then right here, you can see it's orange. This side that we're facing at is outputting energy. And that's important because you definitely want to be able to handle the input and output of your power, especially from a block that's storing it. So now with the idea of storing power, how do we actually move it? So to be able to move the power, we can put connectors onto walls or wall mounts. Not necessarily, you don't have to have them on these wall mounts, but I think it would look kind of nice to have them on there. And then we're going to be using LV wire connectors at the moment. Low voltage is what these are going to be generating, which is the low voltage power. And so we need to move it using those cables. And so that also means LV wire coils. There is an insulated version of these because yes, this can shock you, but I think we'll be fine. I actually kind of enjoy having the low voltage kind of shock you every now and then, kind of just lets you know that you're still playing a game that you can get hurt in. But these LV connectors are what's going to be your IO, your input and output of your power. So we're going to connect that directly to the battery, and that is an output. And then that connector actually has a storage buffer. And then to be able to send power from one location to another, this is where we're going to use relays. And so relays have the ability, if I can put this on here, there we go. Relays have the ability to connect from one location to another. So from one relay to another, but can also connect one relay up to another connector. But it won't be able to connect to a connector and then the connector connect to another connector. That's not how it works. So to kind of demonstrate, we can have our power go from here to here, or we can have it go from here to here, and then vice versa. And then if we want it to go to something that needs power, for example, we would then send it to this node. So let me kind of show you here. We can connect this to here, and then this cannot connect to here, but this can connect like that. And then we can also have this connect, and we can also have this connect, and so on and so forth, just like this. But another interesting thing that we can do, of course, if I break all this, these are all going to pop off. You can also use the snips, these right here, the engineer's wire cutters, to actually cut the wires like in mid air. It's kind of interesting how that works. But yes, we can have a connector directly in the wall. So I can then connect here to here, and then from here to these connectors like this. Perfect. And so we'll get a nice little area that is like almost like a string of lights, but these will shock you if you step in them. Yeah, you'll take a little bit of damage every time you do that. So it's definitely worth keeping in mind when you have power cables all over the place. And notice we can connect from here to here. And then this should be able to carry that power into this connector whenever this needs power. Now, to demonstrate how the power connections work, I have myself a small electric furnace here. This is from the engineer's decor, and this actually is a pretty cool block in itself and has the ability to be sped up to use more power. But that's besides the point. We just want to simply send power to it. And so we should be able to do that by clicking on here, making sure this is set to output. We can see the power is draining out of here and is now inside of this electric furnace. And so I should be able to send items into it, and you can see it's going to start smelting just like that, which is pretty darn cool. Now, interesting thing about this electric furnace is if the item, for example, can't be smelted, it should just pass on through. So once it realizes, oh, it can't be smelted, notice how it just sends it right on through. So this is kind of an interesting little buffer device that will smelt any items that can be smelted, and if it can't, it'll just go right on into the next machine. And also, yet again, you're going to notice a theming. We have the blue input here and the orange input or orange output over here. So yet again, it's pretty synonymous with all mods. That blue is going to be your input and orange is going to be your output. Now, one of my favorite parts is these things right here. So these are the wooden posts, and they have a lot of function. So you can just place the nodes directly on the top, or the connectors, or you can right click here and you can get these posts that stick out, which I think is pretty darn cool, like in their self. And then I think you can make these posts upside down if you place the connector on the bottom side. So yes, and if you want them, for example, to be on this side, you would have to cancel the connections on this and on this side, and then you can add the post over here, which I think is pretty darn cool. So now another thing, if you're a fan of BioShock, you're going to absolutely love this. So if we use some of these structural connectors, we can use these sort of thicker cables as a means of decoration, but they can also be used for the sky hook. Yes, BioShock reference. You can actually link to these cables too, but these are a little bit better suited for this situation. So we're supposed to be able to attach to them by right-clicking, and now I can go from one side to the other. I think a better example of this would be to have a connector, for example, here, and maybe a connector all the way down here, and then to link these together. So let's go ahead and link them up like so. There we go. And then I would grapple on to it and I would write it down. Similar, yeah, just like that. Yes, but yeah, the skyhook, 100%, this thing right here is definitely from BioShock. And the more I get into immersive, the more cool stuff I just keep discovering. Like putting these on here, for example, we can like cover the bottom half of our vertical conveyors to make sure that we're not picking up the items off of our conveyors when we walk by randomly. Like things like these. It's just so good. But man, I could just keep going on and on, but I think today was huge success. I think today was fantastic. Got quite a bit done. We now have lava automated, which is fantastic. Of course, we will be able to expand upon that in the future. We have ourselves now some power with immersive engineering, and we have some basic infrastructure that we can now start to send power around our tiny little base. And I hope you guys are enjoying this series. If you are, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a huge thumbs up. More exploration to come, so be sure, like I said, to click that subscribe button. And well, with that, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that huge thanks is going to go out to Lander the One. Thank you so much, by the way, for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on Discord. Thank you so very much, and choosing one of the best ways possible. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next one. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Bye.